I'm alive! Everywhere but on the inside. Hey dweebs, Brooke here, and I have a story to tell you. A couple of weeks ago, I went out to dinner with a couple of my friends. Nothing too fancy, it was super casual, not a big deal. And I was just sitting there enjoying my meal when all of a sudden one of my friends looks me dead in the eye and says, "So, when are you going back to school?" Now, I was a little flustered, but I managed to keep my cool, and I told this person that for now, going back to college was not in my immediate plans for the future. I then proceeded to continue enjoying my meal, having a perfectly decent time, until the person says, "But you should really consider going back to school." Now, call me crazy, but isn't that nobody else's business but my own? Maybe my parents. Anyway, situations like this pop up all the time. Friends, family, the mailman, they all seem extremely interested in knowing whether or not I'm ever going back to school. So, because it's really fucking annoying, I decided to make a video telling everybody why going back isn't really in the cards for me. The moment I became a junior in high school, college was all anybody could talk about. My family constantly was asking me what colleges I had planned on applying to the following year, but because I was terrified of growing up and living on my own and being a real human adult, I never had an answer for them. Come senior year, however, the months September through January are pretty much dedicated to applying to colleges, applying for financial aid, begging for scholarships, visiting campuses. It got to the point where all of this felt like I was just doing homework, and I wouldn't realize until way too late that I was kind of only doing all of these things because everybody else was doing them. My parents were already a little bit terrified about me not actually wanting to go to college, so when I actually applied and got accepted, they were nothing but supportive and overly positive about every single little detail. The university I chose to attend was beautiful. From the campus itself, to the dorms, to the professors, I fell in love. I went to orientation weekend and easily had one of the best times of my life. I met a lot of really amazing people and played a lot of really fun but also really weird games that involved physical contact with complete strangers. But while I'm meeting new people and having fun and getting my schedule and getting my Wi-Fi password, there's something that just doesn't feel right. Come August, I experienced one of the worst downward spirals of my life. I ended up in the hospital, and my adventure into college ended up having to be put aside by a week. I was lucky enough to be dorming with one of my best friends, as well as two other extremely nice girls, so when it actually came time for me to be a student, I wasn't as anxious as I thought I would be, which probably should have been the first sign that something wasn't right. I woke up extra early for my first day of classes, dressed to impress, spoke to my professor, and sat right in the front row. It felt exactly like a high school class. We even watched a movie, for fuck's sake. I literally had 6 hours to kill until my next class, so I went back to my dorm, blasted some music, and studied my ass off. Afterwards, I proceeded to watch an episode of Teen Wolf that I had missed, and amongst watching this episode, my roommates started coming in, they started bringing their friends in, and I felt totally fine. But then the episode ends, and even though it's not a sad episode, and I barely paid attention to it anyway, something inside of me just snapped. I sat on my bed crying, trying to hide my face from my friends and her friends, who were complete strangers, but ultimately I couldn't hide it well enough. My friend came over to me, she gave me my phone, and she said, "Brooke, call your parents, you have to go home." While I was crying on the phone to my mom, and while I was packing up some of my things, I realized way too late that everything that I had done to get into college and to be a college student was not what I wanted. I literally only did all of the things that I did because it was what everybody else was doing and because it was expected of me. The point of this story, if you haven't figured it out already, is that School is not for everyone. You will be pressured into thinking that it is, whether it's from your family, your friends, or your teachers. One of the only things they care about while you're in high school is convincing you that college is the next best thing for you. And for some people, it is. For some people, their dreams and their goals heavily depend on 4 or more years of college. But for me, somebody who wants to write a novel, somebody who wants to express herself creatively, college really isn't the best idea. While my friends were stressing out over finals and complaining about not being home, I was home doing things that actually made me happy. I wasn't stressed excessively. I wasn't miserable. I wasn't missing home. And I had time to myself to figure things out and to actually finish the main writing part of my novel, which I guarantee you I could not have done if I had continued on with college. To be perfectly honest, if I had continued with college life, I probably would have dropped the novel thing entirely. I probably would have put it off until after college, which would have been a huge mistake. I do want to emphasize that I'm not trying to convince people not to go to college or not to go to school. As I said before, for some people it really is the best option, but for people like me, or literally anybody, it isn't always the best choice. If you're in a situation like mine and this video makes you realize that maybe college isn't what you want to do, I encourage you to do some research. Google the pros and cons of both, because both arguments are pretty convincing. And just as a reminder, plenty of famous people didn't go to college, some of which didn't even go to high school, and they make more money than I can even think of ever making. Hopefully this clears stuff up for some of you guys. Not trying to sound rude, but I really do not appreciate the idea that some people try to imply that just because I'm not going to college, I'm not as intelligent as other people. That is a big fat lie, and if you ever say that to me in person, I'll punch you in the face. Anyway, some new things for 2015, just a quick little tidbit I got Invisalign. So if I talk a little weird in this video, and in all of my videos following, that's why. I have about 2 years of this shit. Also, I made a new Facebook page, which there will be a link to in the description, and if it gets to 100 likes, I will do yet another Truth or Dare video, because we all know how much I really, truthfully enjoyed the last one. So much fun. Anyway, I'm glad that you guys took the time out of your lives to watch this video, and until next time, see you later.